Welcome to week 6. This video lecture will address the skills needed for assignments 4 and 5. That's the In the Mood assignment and the hymn. So let's jump in. We talked about transposed instruments. So the first thing I'm going to show you is a few different ways for inputting notes with transposed instruments. We're going to start a new project. And I'm actually going to set this up to look like In the Mood. So I'm going to have all the parts there. Handwritten. This score is landscape oriented, so we'll click landscape, but we'll leave part as portrait. So for this we need 2 alto saxophones, 2 tenor saxophones, 1 bari sax, 4 trumpets in B flat. Again, B flat is the standard. 4 trombones, 1 auxiliary percussion, so we'll just click on percussion, guitar, plucked strings, piano, bass, also under plucked strings, and again we want string bass, and drums, or drum set. Let's just make sure the order's right. Saxes, trumpets, trombones. We want drum set at the bottom, so click it and then use these arrows to put it down there. Percussion, guitar, so and then one more. Okay, that all looks good. In the Mood, they use lowercase letters, so sure, why not? And for the subtitle, it's actually a super title on the music, but we'll write as recorded by the Glenn Miller Orchestra. Composer, Joe Garland. The arranger is actually Glenn Miller, but let's put your name. Copyright, just the year is fine for this one. MCM, 3 X's, an I, and an X. Key is A flat. No pickup measure. It is in cut time. There are 130 measures, but we're not doing the whole thing. We're only doing the first 3 pages, so we'll leave that. Medium bounce swing. Sorry, medium bounce tempo, but bounce means swing. It's a synonym for swing. I have to double check if that 120 is right. I think it's a little slow. Let's start with 130 and then we can change that if we need to. Again, it is difficult to change, not difficult, but there are extra steps to change this number later and have everything respond correctly with playback and whatnot. But for now, let's just leave that like that. All right, this looks good. I'm going to zoom in with Command plus. And as we talked about earlier, some of these instruments appear to have different keys. This looks like it's in F, this looks like it's in B flat. Goes back and forth, and then finally these look like they're in A flat. The concert key is A flat. So this is these are your 3 options. Number 1, click and enter every single note one at a time. Option number 2, get the first note going and then use the computer keyboard, push the right arrow, and then so up an octave. Again, the keyboard shortcut to fix that is Shift-Alt-Down. You can do it that way. Honestly, that would probably be fine. But if you wanted to use the MIDI controller, what you would have to do, more than likely, again, it's potentially what you could do is just plug the MIDI controller in with this transposed instrument. It might work out, it probably won't, so this is what you need to do. First, enter just the first right note. Then we're going to go up here to Document and click on Display in Concert Pitch. That's going to make everything the real notes. Now I'm going to change the key of the song up so that that looks the way it looks on the score. So which means I need to change the key to F. So I'm going to put that to F, make sure this says up because I need to go the correct direction. There we go. So now I can use the MIDI controller. I'm not using a MIDI controller right now, but the idea is the same. And I could do that and everything would work out. And then finally I could put in the whole thing, which I'll do. Again, we're still in this transpose key. T for tie. N for natural. Minus for flat. Alright, looks good. And now, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to just reverse engineer the process to create this. So we'll first go to the key, change that back to where it was originally, in which case it's A flat, and we're going back down. It's very important that whatever direction you start with, you do the opposite. And now document, we're going to click on displaying concert pitch again and make this check mark go away. Perfect. A huge way that you're going to save time is by clicking and dragging and putting this around. But it's very important to save the most time that you enter all the articulation and dynamics first. So we have slur, double click, drag that to the C. Then you have a couple of marcato markings, one here. You have one on all of these Fs actually. Even the last one. Now, I'm going to slur, starting on the E, going all the way down to the A, and then slur the C to the A flat, and then a marcato on each of those last notes. Sometimes you can click and drag and get both of them. It doesn't always work, but it's worth a try. And when I say it doesn't always work, it always works, but the question is whether or not you've got that mouse placed perfectly so that it gets the notes you want and not any of the ones you don't want. But it wouldn't have been a problem to just click that and change it, but that all looks perfect. So now that that's done, and I'm going to add in that dynamic, mezzo forte. Now I can highlight, edit, undo, put that back. I can click and drag to highlight, or I can hold shift, click the first one, and the last one. Now I'm going to do command copy, command paste. Now I've got both of those. Or, like I was mentioning before, click and drag to get them, and then just drag it down. Now the alto and the tenor, and this is a coincidence that it worked out this way. It won't always work this way, not even in this song, but all the instruments happen to be playing in unison. All the saxophones do, unisons and octave. So it worked out when I tried to drag that down, it automatically put it in the right key. You'll notice this matches up perfectly with that one. So I'm going to copy, paste. Now this one, it did work out. There's octave displacement here. A bari sax is an octave lower than an alto sax. And that's one of the best features of this new version of Finale, the 25 and 26, because both of them fix that. If you're using an older version of Finale, when you try to do that, when you try to drag something from the alto down to the bari, or the same thing is true of the guitar is also displaced by an octave. Sometimes, depending on the specific function you were trying to do, it will not transpose the notes correctly. Just 1 second, we're going to keep going. Just wanted to plug in and make sure that this wasn't all for nothing. All right, so that quickly, we got the first few measures done. Same thing is going to be true for the trumpets down here. That they're all playing in unison. So if I input the first notes right here in this measure with the F, so R for rest, starts on D, Shift Alt up, you're going to see those yellow notes there. You'll talk a lot more about this, or rather, you'll learn a lot more about this in your orchestration class that I think you'll all take as seniors. But basically, Finale is saying that that note is too high for a trumpet player, but that's ridiculous. That note is well within the range that any trumpet player worth his or her salt can play. So it's okay to leave that exactly where it is. Going on. Oh, this back here. Lower that to a G and change to a quarter note. And then actually, I can even copy this part. Oh, one note was somehow missing from here, so let's put that back in. So I'm going to click on that for the rest, delete it. And looking at this, it's that I missed the G. There's supposed to be one more G right there. There we go. Now that looks good. I'm going to put this measure here. I'm going to drag this one over. And I'm only going to change the end of it, because that's the only thing that needs to be changed. So click on that. And I actually want a quarter note, B, and then another B tied. Eighth note. So with that all there, I'm going to do the same process as with the saxophones. I'm going to add the articulation. So marcato up on this B flat, marcato on the C, on this C, this C, and this D. And both of these B flats. Excuse me. So now with that there, click, drag, copy. I'm going to paste this to all four trumpets. And the only note that's different between them is the dotted quarter note. So I'm going to change this one to a low E natural. I'm going to change this one to an A. I'm going to change the bottom one to a D, or lower D. And then this final set of notes, this final pair of notes, these are also different. So this one goes down to E flat. Oh, E flat and then D. Trumpet 3 goes from C up to G. And this last one goes from G down to F. I need a sforzando on this one. And actually, because it's the same thing, if I line the cursor upright, I can just click and drag that. Let's be under expression. There they all are at once, and now I'm just going to add the diminuendo in. You do have to do this one at a time, but this is on the dotted quarter note, so just click and drag. Put that there, get it out of the way. And I need to add a forte at the beginning for each of them. And just like before, I can highlight all of them and add a forte. I also need to add a forte in between the eighth note and the quarter note right here. So we'll just put it on this quarter note. And because it says bounce, we need to make sure to go to playback and change that. So document, MIDI audio, human playback, jazz. Let's listen to what we have so far. It's a little slow, and it didn't really sound that swung. So let's just go back and look at that one more time. Human playback, jazz. We can adjust the playback. You don't need to do this, but I'm just going to show you what I'm doing. You can adjust the intensity of the swing. So if I go to 120, I'll make it swing a little harder. Let's try that one more time. All right. It's still not playing back with swing, but that's something that doesn't affect this assignment. So if you're having a similar issue, let me know and we can look at it for future assignments, but it does not matter for this one. Okay. So now going through the list of the other skills that you need. One bar repeats. So for one bar repeat, you just have to highlight a measure by clicking on it, or click and drag to highlight multiple measures, right click or control click. And again, you would think it's repeat, but it isn't. It's staff style. Apply staff style. One bar repeat. I have a bunch of one bar repeats. As I mentioned in class, if you want to actually hear that one bar repeated, so like let's say we had a drum beat here, I'll really make one for you. This is not the actual part. I'm just putting in anything to have something. So if this was our drum beat, even if I put in the one bar repeat symbols here, it doesn't actually affect playback. Let's zoom out a little bit so we can see everything at once. Zoom out a little bit more. There we go. And one more time with that. We didn't hear the drums. Let me try one thing. There we go. So you'll notice that we only heard the drums on the first one, even though that's there. So if you want to actually hear them through playback, you have to Command copy, paste them in all these other measures, and if you're doing a lot, after a few measures, I like to just click and drag and copy all 4 of them and then start pasting them like that. And then after the first one, you just click and highlight that, control click, staff styles, apply, 1 bar repeat. So now it's a lot easier for the drummer to follow. He or she knows to just keep playing this throughout this whole thing. Next we have diminuendos, but we actually already talked about those. Diminuendos right there. Putting a measure on every bar. I'm going to zoom back in using Command plus. So to put measures on every bar, you go to the measure tool, which is this whole rest here. You click on measure up here at the top. Edit measure regions. You want to enable a few things. You want to enable this one and these two. And now you have measures on every number. Or sorry, you have numbers on every measure. For most of you as well, it's been a long week and it's only Tuesday. For the endings, first we need that there. Actually, let's do this one. So this is, of course, not where it would go, but let's say 2 endings. So that'll be your second ending. But we want to put that over here. We don't want to drag that, we want to move it. One of these boxes moves it, and the other one lets you extend it. Or not. So another option here is to just draw them in manually. So we'll click this here, we'll put the back ending. So it looks good. And now if we want to put another line, we can go to the shape tool again and grab this one. And even though this is going the wrong direction, we'll just drag it the other way. Double click. And there you go. And then you can use the text tool to enter the numbers. For ascending, and second ending. Drum notation we talked about in class. I'm going to include that picture when I send it to you, when I send this video to you. But one of the things I was talking about, I just want to show you, is when you have your note, sometimes, like right here on the snare, I'm moving my mouse up, and it's cycling through different types of snare drums, but it's not actually going to the next one, at least not for a while. So you just want to make sure you get it on the normal snare. And some of these types of drums you can only access going up. So if you go too far, you have to, rather than just going down, you have to go way back and then work your way back up again. But that's how you would do a snare. Tremolos. Tremolos are a type of articulation. This is when you continue to make sound on a note. For a stringed instrument, it would be like continuing to bow or pluck the string. So if I wanted to do a tremolo here, I would just double click on the note. And for some reason, it's not. Let's see. If this ever happens to you, it's usually easiest to just close out. Open back up. All right, let's see what happens. There we go. Not sure why it was doing that, but it's working now. All the articulations are here, of course. This is something we've been working with for a while, so these are different tremolos. So this one doubles the note. So if you see this on a quarter note, it means you would play it as 2/8 notes. If you see this on a quarter note, it means you would play it as 4/16 notes. It's basically what these different beams would add. This would mean you would play it as 8 32nd notes, etc. Usually for tremolo, you just go as fast as you can, which is this 32nd note tremolo. And you put that there, and then you just click and drag it to somewhere where it's out of the way. If it was on this quarter note, you'd want it so that the stem goes through. If it's on a whole note, then you just sort of put it floating above. Slash notation. Talked about slash notation earlier. Just like the one bar repeats, you're going to input that using control click and going down to staff styles. So slash notation just means play. Usually it's accompanied by chord symbols. So the rhythm instrumentalist would just keep playing whatever they were playing, and they would play something that's stylistically appropriate. I'm sorry, that was rhythmic. That's not the one I wanted. I wanted slash. So it's just really general. It just means play whatever you want to play. It's only doing 2 per measure because we're in cut time. If we were in 4/4 or common time, it would be 4 per measure. If we were in 3/4, it'd be 3 per measure. Rhythmic notation, you'll see this in the guitar a lot. Rhythmic notation just converts all of the note heads to general slashes. So if I click and drag these first measures here, and I control click that, and go down to staff styles, apply rhythmic notation, just like I said, it's going to change all those into general rhythms. And then you would put the guitar chords or the piano chords wherever they would need to go. So now for part extraction. So if you go up to File, Extract Parts is its own option, and you just click on the parts you want. Now for this assignment, you only need to select one, and it can be any one you want to. So we'll start with check none, and then we'll click one. I play trumpet, so I'm going to do trumpet 1. Okay. So this is clearly not complete. There's a lot missing, but now it's extracted. So now you're just going to click on all of the measures where you have 2 or more consecutive measures of rest, highlight them, go up to Edit, Edit Rests, Multi-Measure Rests, Create. And this is not how it will actually look for you, but if you wanted to do all those, you could. What I just did there is a point that I was going to talk about at the end, but since I have to do it here, it's worth talking about here. One of the problems in last week's assignments, the Let It Go assignment, was a lot of you had things overlapping, like this. Almost always, you can just click and drag to move things out of the way. If it's the lyrics that are in the way, I'll show you how to fix that in just a moment when we get to the hymn skills that you need. But basically what you would do is you would go to Staff, and you'd grab this little box, and you would just move the staff that was a problem out of the way. So if I had lyrics down here, and this one was in the way, like, let's actually put it in the way. Well, I won't go any closer than that. But let's say that was too close. I would just go to Staff, grab this little box, click and drag to move it down. You can always do that. So when something's in the way, either click and drag the thing that's in the way, or you can go to the Staff tool and move that one around. Now to talk about the skills you'll need for the hymn exercise. For inputting lyrics, you're all experts at that by now, but again, you go to the lyrics tool, and the only difference is, actually, let me get rid of these. No, I'll leave the dynamics there. It'll create a problem that I could show you how to fix. So click here, and I'm just going to say La. But for some of your hymns, you have up to 4 verses. So if you want to change the verse, you go up to Lyrics, Specify Current Lyric, and you just click on that number, and it's always going to fix that for you. And you can do as many lyrics as you need. Again, I don't think any of you need more than 4. So let's say this was 4. Because I skipped 3, it's going to leave us just a little bit of room, and I could go in and add 3 if I wanted to, which, sure, why not? In your hymns, though, they're numbered. So in order to number them, again, you go up to the lyrics, auto number, verses, and now you have your numbers there. But this forte is in the way, and this is a great example of one of the challenges that a lot of you faced. I can, oh, that moved the word. I don't want to move the word. So edit, undo again. I can try to click on that and move that out of the way. That's okay. I can also go to the lyrics tool and just, each of these arrows does something slightly different. So like the second one is that specific verse. The first one is not doing anything. The fourth one is that, and the fourth one. So you'd have to do it one at a time, but you could move the lyrics that way. Just click, and each time you'd have to specify lyric. So specify lyric, move down, specify lyric, move down, and that'll be true for the whole line. So what you need to do to finish off your hymn is you'll finish it, you'll have input all the notes and the lyrics and everything, and then you'll go to change key. So this is in B flat major right now. So we're going to change this to 4 flats, minor, hold notes to original pitches and harmonically. And now I just want to go into the fifths. Oh, we want to do that to the whole song. To end of piece. So in this key, we're in B flat. The 7th scale degree is A. So I'm going to find all the A flats and make them A naturals. I don't think there are any. Well, if there were, I would have changed them. It may change them for you automatically. So let's say this note was an A flat. You would just click on it and change it to natural with N. Another thing you can do is, depending on what key you're in, you're either going to make these notes sharp or natural. If you're making them sharp, you could just click on only the sharp, but deselect the note, and then whichever notes you click on are going to be turned sharp. So that's probably an easy way to do it. In terms of the format you have to submit this in, for the finale portion, you're going to print the first 3 pages as a score. You're also going to print the one part that you extracted and combine the rest for. For the hymn, you will just print that, but make sure you keep the arrangement because we're going to play them for each other in class. As always, any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. We can meet up, email, call, whatever works for you. Good luck.